Hello, welcome to the next episode of All the Gear Some Idea. It's getting exciting now. This is the fourth instalment on the Peugeot 205, I think. The engine's pretty much ready to go in. There are a few other trinket little bits to go on it. As you can see, it's now suspended from the crane rather than on the stand. Still got water housing to go on, the distributor, which is going to go on the end of the camshaft here. Got to change the rear main oil seal. Oh, the only other bits to do is a cam cover to go on, which I've ordered. That can go on once it gets in the car, and the water housing that comes out of here around the back of the water pump. But I'm going to do all of that whilst it's in the car. Obviously, it's in a bit of a different condition than when you last saw it. We have just completed the work on the head, so obviously the cylinder head's gone on, the sump's now been sealed on, and around the other side, if I can turn it without it falling off, yep. The oil filter housing has gone on with new gaskets, and I've managed to put the alternator on from the 1 litre engine as well, using the original bracketry. I had to re-thread or just run a tap through some of the bolts that have never been used from the original alternator fitment, because I imagine it was slightly different being a VTR engine. Yeah, but that's all gone on nicely, as has the other part of the engine mount. For the rear engine mount piece, I had to buy a VTR engine mount because it didn't come with this engine. But luckily the top part of the 205 engine mount will bolt straight up to that. I have offered it up. It appears to be okay. Just hope it lines up okay once we've got it on the car. I'm sure it will. Other people have done this conversion before and it's worked, so if it doesn't, then I'll find a way to make it work. Yeah, so all we're going to do now is replace the rear main oil seal. I'm going to put the flywheel on from the 1 litre engine. Now I'm going to put the gearbox on and see if we can spin it up with a starter motor in, just to make sure the starter motor is going to mesh with the flywheel, because it is slightly smaller than a VTR flywheel. They usually run a 200mm flywheel, whereas the 1 litre flywheel for the 1 litre engine is 180mm. So I'm hoping, because I am still running the 205 gearbox, it will still mesh. But obviously that's the idea of checking that beforehand. So I'm not going to film any of that because it's not that interesting. And the next you'll see of us is time lapse of the engine going in. Hopefully, I'm just going to set the camera up and time lapse it, and I might do a little voiceover whilst that goes on. You'll see Dad in that video as well. He's knocking about today, probably drinking a Pepsi somewhere. But yeah, cool. Hope you enjoyed the video. See you later. Right then, so as you just saw, the engine is now in, which is great. Everything, yeah, that's fantastic. All went pretty well. There is, however, a little bit of an issue, which I'll show you now. So, we're down at the front of the car now, looking straight at the front of the engine, where the exhaust manifold will go. And obviously we've got 2 gearbox bolts up there. So 1 and then 2 in the background there. But the other 2 don't quite line up. Now, I kind of fashioned up this bracket quickly just to see if it would do something and hold it. It's not holding it too well. I have actually got the engine supported with a trolley jack now, so yeah, there's a little bit of a gap in there. So what I'm going to try and do is fashion up a bracket out of some flat bar and some round bar with a hole drilled through the front of it. So what I'm going to do is use this M10 bolt, take that nut off it, take that piece of metal there off of it, which is effectively doing nothing. It was kind of like a last glitch attempt. Yeah, and then I'm going to put a piece of round 20mm round bar in there with a 10mm hole drilled through it, so the bolt will go through it. And then at this end of the bolt I'll put some 5mm flat bar with a 10mm hole for the bolt drilled through it. That will then go down to this bolt hole here, again with a hole drilled through it that I can then nut and bolt, which will then mount up to the gearbox. And then hopefully, with that all tightened up, that will provide us with the support we need to bolt the gearbox. Well, we'll get that bit bolted up anyway. There is another bolt at the rear of the engine, which I'll just get up and show you now. So that, where are you? So yeah, that one there is the original engine bolt hole, and on the gearbox there is no hole. It just goes straight to the diff. This time, obviously, I'm having these issues because I'm fitting a 205 gearbox onto a Saxo engine. But what I'm going to plan to do with that one is the same, but using the starter motor bolt, which is there. Where are we? There. So that starter motor bolt, I'm going to kind of try and do the same with that. Make a bracket, which will space out the starter motor bolt a little bit. A bit of a threaded bar, and then just a nut and bolt through the, sorry, you can see it better now, can't you? Yeah, just a nut and bolt through the engine bracket piece. So yeah, that's that. Failing that, if all else fails, I'll just have to go and get a Saxo gearbox and put that in. The reason we're going for this gearbox is because it's a 1.4 XS box from a 205, and they're considered to be quite close ratio. Pretty much the same as what a 205 Rally would be. And they look like good fun to drive, so I kind of went for that one for that reason. So this is Lee, the voiceover man. This is what the bracketry that I fashioned up ended up looking like. So I forgot to film that bit. So yeah, this is what it looks like now, and it appears to be holding up. Let me know if you feel that I could have done something better in the comments, and yeah, I might take you up on those ideas. Anyway, back to the video. So we're going to crack on with some other engine bits now. I'll just show you what I'm about to get up to. Right, so you're looking at the back of the engine. You've got the injector holes just here. Now, obviously, they need to be blanked off, otherwise we're going to have a bit of a vacuum leak. So what I've done is just bought a set of injectors, which would usually be fitted to this engine, and I'm just going to put those in. And the fuel rail will hold those in place, so they're not going to be connected up, they're just going to sit there looking pretty. I've also got to make a gasket for the inlet. That's going to be done shortly. I've got the studs that have come for the inlet manifold. The water housing's got to go on the back, which is just in there. I've got two different ones because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to use yet. One that just goes off to the back, and then one that's got like a 90-degree right, which goes off either to the heater matrix. And then obviously we've got the main hose that comes from the radiator. Yeah, so plenty to be getting on with. So another development has just arose in the saga. The distributor housing, which bolts up to these 5 bolt holes here, wouldn't mount up to his holes properly because there's a fuel pump and then mounting bracket on it that sits up here. Obviously we're not going to be using the fuel pump because we've got an electric one from the bike. However, I have had to cut this off from the back of the cylinder head, unfortunately, because that was in the way. So yeah, I cut that off with the grinder, and had to grind away a fair bit of metal as well. So it looks like a bit of a bodge job, but it's all in the means of getting the distributor housing on, so it kind of needs to be done. Yes. So yeah, gonna fit that now, and hopefully everything will be hunky-dory. We're now a few days later on. I have been a bit busy. When I say a few days later on, probably more like a week. So obviously the engine's gone in, as you can see. Exhaust is all bolted up. Fuel system, we've got the fuel pipe coming in straight into the R6 pump. I think that's just going to be temporary, that position at the moment, and then that's going over to the carbs. The carbs obviously aren't mounted at the moment to the inlet manifold because we have had some running issues, being that the carbs are popping back through on cylinders 2 and 3. I've checked the air fuel screws, they're all on 2.5 turns out, which is a standard for R6 carbs. I've had to put bigger jets in again for the main jets, and then now the carbs are revving up nicely, so the engine's revving up nicely. What I think is the issue, I'm hoping is the issue, is the distributor. I had an issue on the previous engine, on the 1.1, where it was popping back through the carbs, or the carb, occasionally. I believe the previous owner had this issue as well, but but due to the price of distributors, he didn't want to put one on. I've actually managed to find one. It's a second-hand unit. Just put that on now with a new cap and rotor arm on it. Yeah, I'm also going to be plumbing in the vacuum advance, because I think that's going to be one of the things that's a must on this engine. Because the vacuum advance on the old distributor wasn't working at all. The diaphragm inside was split and it wasn't holding the vacuum. Nonetheless, I didn't have the pipes on the inlet manifold to join them all together to plumb in the vacuum advance anyway, which is what the inlet manifold is back over to Alex for at the moment. That's having some little vacuum pipes TIG welded onto it. The subframe has had some extensive modification. Again, thanks to Alex at AJ Welding for that. If you look down here, that rear lower arm bracket on both sides never used to be fitted. So this had base model suspension on it. It now has GTI suspension. So got a proper lower arm, an anti-roll bar, which is separate to the lower arm. If you can see that, you just see the bar there, and that's going up to the strut. The struts are now GTI struts, and I have also got some GTI front brakes to go on, because when this car is running properly, I want it to stop as well as it goes. Well, hopefully as well as it goes. So yeah, we've done a little bit of a handling upgrade on the front as well. So yeah, that's all been carried out. Ignore that stud. I had to grind that down to get the carbs in, or the inlet manifold in. I'm actually going to replace that stud and put a new nut on it, and then grind down the engine mount, which is probably what I should have done in the first place, but hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Yeah, gearbox is all hooked up. Got a little fix down there for the gearbox bolt that wouldn't line up. So there's a piece of flat bar in there, and some like a cylindrical tube with a decent thickness on it, which has gone up to the original gearbox mounting hole, and that's holding nicely. The last gearbox mounting hole, which is just below the starter nut around there, I'm going to be tapping the thread on the engine, which is an M11. It's going to have to be an M11 thread. So yeah, and then put a bolt through that, and then do the same on, like I've done with the front at that rear mount. That is because providing this gearbox is good enough. I say good enough, I'm happy with the ratios because it's a close ratio box out of a 1.4 XS. So yeah, that's that. So that's pretty much the engine bay. I'll move on to the interior now. Right then, so as we step inside the interior, you can see the dash is now all back together. I'm not sure if you guys saw it or not, but you would have heard that the heating matrix was chucking its coolant out when I first initially started it with the old engine in, and now that's rectified. Put a new matrix in, new pipe work, so that's all good. Some gauges have been fitted. They're loosely mounted at the moment. I need to put another screw in there when I get a chance. So yeah, I've got an air fuel ratio gauge, which is imperative really for running this sort of setup, because if the engine is running too lean, you don't want to be running too lean for too long, because it will run hot and effectively destroy your engine one way or another. The oil pressure gauge is there also, and on the right hand side we've got a rev counter. So obviously the original clocks don't have a rev counter, so I've decided to chuck that one in. Not got a adapter for the oil pressure sender yet, so that's not actually connected. It is powered up, etc. It's just a wire that goes to the little sender that needs to bolt to the engine is not connected yet, so that's not officially working. A little bit of a nightmare, to be honest, to fit those. I had to take apart most of the top half of the dash, and as you can imagine, the age of the car, the dash is really extremely brittle. I was as careful as I could, but it's cracked in a few little places, which is a little bit unfortunate. But yeah, it's one of those little things that had to be done. Well, that I wanted to do, didn't have to be done. It's my fault really, but hey ho. I'm still looking for a roof lining. So if anyone nose of a roof lining for a 205 3-door non-sunroof model. Please do get in touch, because I'd like to have one, really. Looks a bit pants with that one, especially with that nonsense there. It's a bit rubbish, isn't it? I've got some Forever Black, been recommended by lots of people as well, to recolour the trims on the bumpers. So hopefully that'll do the job there. I've got to put the wipers back on, actually. I could do that. I might do that in a minute, actually. Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Get that done. Gear linkage is all connected. That's all gravy. Oh yeah, wheels. Seeing as we're done on the inside now, seats all the same. It's still full of rubbish. I say rubbish. Parts to go on the car, slash to keep. 1/6 GTI wheels are on the front. The front struts I bought off of Border Peugeot spares up in Shropshire, so shout out to them. They came with lowering springs on them, so I fitted them, and I think it's a little bit too low on the front now, so I might be changing those back to standard height springs. I don't really want to lower it, if I'm honest. But yeah, obviously I've got another pair of 1/6 GTI wheels to go on the rear as well. Hopefully I'll get that door sorted at some point. It's a bit crisp packety. I'd like to try and get it so a bit less crisp packety. Obviously you would have seen, I think earlier in the video or on a previous video, that we de-striped the car, got rid of the stickers, got a new back panel on it now with the Peugeot written on it. There's the nice new exhaust system with its 2-inch slash cut tip. It's very nice indeed, very pleased with that. Got new little decorative panels on the side. One thing I haven't mentioned is the guys at Dan ST Engineering, or Dan's Engineering, whatever you want to call it. They're up in Yorkshire. They supplied the inlet manifold for me and, the Newman camshaft and vernier pulley, which is just in here. Look at that. Lovely piece of engineering. Yeah, so the guys at Dan ST Engineering, massive shout out to them, because I phoned them a few times and asked them for a bit of advice regarding setting up the carbs, etc. And yeah, they've been nothing but helpful. There we go, that's the phrase that I was looking for. Yeah, obviously bought the carbs myself, got in contact with them, ordered the inlet manifold, the cam and the vernier pulley. And yeah, as I say, with these running issues, I've asked them for advice over the phone. Obviously where I'm down in Bournemouth and they're up in Yorkshire, it's a bit of a trip, but I'm going to try and get up to them at some point so they can finalise the setup on the carbs, because that would be nice. There's a lot of money I've spent on this, and I'd like it to be running reasonably nicely before I take it up there so they can fine tune it, which would be good. Yeah, so hopefully I can get her purring like a kitten. And then me and George have got a little bit of a trek, or should I say trip, planned for her, involving a certain racetrack in a certain country. Free guesses what that means. But yeah, so that's a little update on how the 205 is going. I did have an issue with the cooling fan, actually. It wasn't working. First time I started the engine up, it boiled. Well, it didn't boil up, but it got a bit hot, and I was just a bit surprised. It turns out that the earth for the fan, the little eyelet for it, had broken off, so the wire was just flapping around, so I didn't actually have a circuit going to the cooling fan, which is annoying. So I've just extended that wire down there straight up to earth, so I know I've got a good earth there now. But yeah, is there anything else? Yes, there is another thing I need to mention. Screen wash still doesn't work, haven't sorted that out yet. These are my fresh new brakes, or discs, that are going to go onto the front end, shall I say. So I've added a nice little fuse box in there. That's powered off of an Ignition Live, so all of the feeds in there are ignition fed. And that is basically powering up the fuel pump and the gauges at the moment. Obviously you've got plenty of other outlets on there, so if I decide to have anything else powered up via ignition, that'll be going through there. So yeah, a lot of work's been done. There's still a fair bit to do. I like to have a good tidy up in this engine bay once it's all up and running, but obviously that's a little way away. But yeah, let us know what you think in the comments. If you haven't done already, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.